Before I was 8 years old, I was lucky enough to have lived in 8 different countries. Argentina, where my dad is from, as well as Spain, Greece, Costa Rica, Panama, Thailand, Cambodia, and Italy. I got to experience many different adventures, from riding elephants in Cambodia, to playing on the lawn in front of the Eiffel Tower, to playing outside with my brothers in the mountains of the Patagonia. Including one time when a volcano erupting in neighboring Chile turned the skies black during the daytime. I've always been curious about people's stories, backgrounds, and cultures, maybe in part because I have lived internationally. As an avid, lifelong reader, I've had the chance to read hundreds of different books, all colored with different perspectives. This has allowed me to understand that there are truly no good or bad sides to a story, just different ones. Since I was raised speaking both Spanish and English, my mind was also shaped to think in terms of both cultures and perspectives. Some words have a much different meaning in Spanish than in English, and vice versa. Take the example of time. When you say now in English, it means right now. However, when you say now in Spanish, ahora, it can mean a few hours from now. My mom tells a story that perfectly captures this cultural difference. She studied abroad in Venezuela and had a Venezuelan roommate. Her roommate once said, "Vamos a la playa ahora," which translates to, "Let's go to the beach now." My mom rushed to get ready and then found out that no one was even close to ready. They ended up going a few hours later. While this may seem like a small cultural difference, it actually demonstrates how easily misunderstandings can occur. We live in an increasingly technological age where we are facing rising levels of anxiety and stress. And because of this, I believe true understanding and forgiveness are needed now more than ever. As part of this generation of youth, I can affirm that it has been an incredible tool and perspective to have in my life. Not only that, studies on forgiveness have actually shown mental health benefits and have shown to decrease the likelihood of heart attacks and increase overall well-being. I truly believe that if we can practice seeing the world through someone else's eyes, we can start planting a seed for a better tomorrow. And maybe one day we will look at the villains in our lives and see them for the complicated individuals that they are. Individuals who have the potential to become heroes as well. One of my favorite fictional heroes was also portrayed as a villain, and I believe it's a great example of how a shift in perspective can dramatically change our views about someone. Are any of you out there fans of the movie Wicked? For those of you who don't know, Wicked is a remake of The Wizard of Oz that tells the story of the Wicked Witch. In this movie, we learn that Elphaba, who is the Wicked Witch of Oz, started out as a young caring woman who was bullied because of her green skin. Early in the movie, Elphaba is a student at Shiz University. She clearly has unusual gifts, and she is selected by the headmistress to study sorcery. In one scene, we learn that animals are no longer allowed to be professors at Shiz University when Elphaba's professor and friend, Dr. Dillivant, who happens to be a goat, gets dragged out of the classroom. We then see a guest professor wheel in a baby lion cub in a cage and explain that animals will no longer be allowed to be professors. Elphaba is horrified, and she accidentally casts a spell that causes everyone around her to fall fast asleep, except for Elphaba and her friend, Prince Fiero. The children grab the lion cub out of the cage and head off on the bicycles to release it back into the wild. In this moment, we see how much Elphaba cares and that she was only trying to help. I think this is an important story to keep in mind throughout this talk. The Wicked Witch of the West was seen as the villain by many people in Oz. And yet, she was a hero to me. I believe we each have the choice every day to be a hero to others, but it will depend upon the choices we make. In a popular Native American folktale, a young boy comes to his grandfather, angry at someone who wronged him. His grandfather says, hate wears you down, and hate does not hurt your enemy. Hate is like taking poison and wishing your enemy would die. He goes on to tell him about two different wolves that are constantly battling inside all of us. He says one is full of harmony and peace, and the other is full of anger and hate. The little boy then asks, which wolf will win? To which the grandfather smiles and replies, the one you feed. I find the story to be a powerful reminder that when we carry around anger and hate, we end up injecting poison into our own hearts. I believe that if we can practice looking at the world from different perspectives, we can create a better future together. I try to practice this in my daily life because I truly believe there are no bad people, only bad actions. Here are 3 simple steps that have worked for me that I hope others may find helpful. Number 1, practice compassion by trying to see things from the other person's perspective. I like to try to visualize how the day or experience could have been for the other person. And this goes for small things as well as big things. If someone cuts you off in traffic or argues with you at the dinner table, consider why they might be doing so and the feelings. I often like to pause for a moment when I find myself reacting to something someone did and simply think about what that moment was like for them. What could be going on in their lives? What problems might they be facing that I don't know about? The second step is trying to separate the person from their actions. I realize that I'm young and will continue to gather more experiences and evolve over time. But it feels clear to me that none of us are defined by any one action, but by the accumulation of them. We are all complex individuals and everybody makes mistakes. Sometimes it may feel like someone is a villain in your life because of their actions or how they hurt you. About learning to look at that person and separate out your perspective of them from who they are as a whole person can be incredibly valuable. The third and final action step is practicing forgiveness. The first 2 steps hopefully widen the understanding and perspective of the other person. Now comes forgiveness. It's important to remember that forgiveness is not for the other person, but for you. It allows you to let go of hurt or anger so you can move on. You don't have to think the other person was right to forgive them. It's also important to understand that you forgiving them doesn't mean you're excusing them from hurting you. Only that it can be helpful to recognize that people who harm others are often doing so because they themselves feel hurt. Forgiving means acting in compassion and letting go of hatred and anger, like the grandfather talks about in the story of the 2 wolves. Everyone has different ways of going through this process. Ultimately, it's whatever way helps you the most. I personally like to think through it, but it can also help to write down what you're thinking and reread it to see your own thoughts. Another good technique may be writing a letter to the other person. You never have to send it, but it might give you some perspective. So what if the villains in our lives could be heroes too? I encourage all of us to reflect on this question. As we walk through our everyday lives and go to school or work, hopefully we can bring some understanding and compassion to the people around us. While history may feature some villains, I believe most people are doing their best to live happy lives without harming others. When we practice compassion and forgiveness, we free up more time and energy to create the life we want to live. Rather than being weighed down by anger or resentment, we can instead focus on giving energy to our biggest dreams. The best gift we can give ourselves is the chance to live our lives to the fullest. I truly believe that if we practice skills like compassion and forgiveness, it will allow us to not only live our lives to the fullest, but to start planting the seeds for a better tomorrow. Thank you.